What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Talk of the Tundra, your Green Bay Packers podcast that is a proud partner of the Eurostep Podcast Network and the Blue Wire family. As always, I am your host, Numac, coming to you with another Talk of the Tundra episode, a mere week and some change, or just short of a week, I forget, of the start of free agency. I'm pretty sure it's next Thursday, is it not, Jordan?
It's complicated.
It
Monday
starts
is the
Monday.
start. Yeah, the legal tampering period.
Right. That's my lovely
Um,
co-host, Jordan Tresky. Jordan, how you doing?
Hello again. Sorry. Wednesday is when things will be made official. So it'll be the first 2 days will always be breaking out my hoops habit behind the buck pass terminology. So he's agreed to, and then Wednesday's start of signed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Basically just a 2 days of announcements, and then everyone breaks their pens out on Wednesday and starts signing. Even though whenever they have they tampering periods like this, as they're called, everyone's tampering before the tampering period. Like
Yeah.
it's just how it is. It's just industry standard.
In
So,
NFL, it's got to be harder to track because there's so many free agents.
oh, there's so many, so
I
many.
believe on Spotrac it says 673.
That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of players. Um, with all that being said, we're just gonna hop right into it. We're gonna do free agent targets for the Packers, who Jordan and I think the Packers should be targeting in free agency, as well as who stays and who goes for the Packers in their own free agent class. So we're going to start with the Packers free agent class, going through the list of the 16 players that they have with the three extra added players, including David Bakhtiari, Devondre Campbell, and Aaron Jones, seeing what they think or what we think they'll do with them. Even though they're not free agents, they are likely candidates to be cut or restructured, or a different option the Packers would choose, which would be stay on their current contract, which doesn't seem likely for any of them, frankly. So I guess let's just start with the big guys. Jordan, let's just start with David Bakhtiari. What do you think the Packers are going to do with our formerly All-Pro left tackle?
I think we have seen the last of David Bakhtiari in a Green Bay Packers uniform. Certainly, there's been plenty of words spoken and written to that, though we have not seen it. But I feel like it is coming to a close very soon. Maybe by the time you're listening to this.
Maybe. As of 9
The new
p.m.,
league year starts in 6 days.
you're right. um, we'll see. Like I'm definitely with you that I think Dave Bakhtiari is most likely not going to be on the team anymore come next Wednesday. It'll be something interesting for sure. Like it'll be sad when it ultimately does happen, because I just don't think there's a reality in which they keep him. Frankly, I'd be very,
Yeah.
very surprised given their cap situation and how much money they can recoup from letting him go to make room for other pieces that help fit the team, which we'll obviously talk about a lot later. Um, but yeah, I just don't think there's a reality in which David Bakhtiari is with the team anymore. Something we've litigated ad nauseum on this podcast, and Packers fans have also talked about all over Twitter and forums and other places like that. So pretty straightforward on that one.
Mhm.
Devondre Campbell. I think this is the most intriguing one of the three of the three big ones that we need to talk about. I think I think they ultimately keep him, even though I think he should be cut or restructured. I don't know if they'll restructure it or if he'll want to restructure, but um, I think in order it's keep, restructure, cut, just because they'll need more linebackers in Jeff Hafley's new system, and it's already an area of need, and so cutting a veteran who has shown flashes in the past, hasn't been good as of late, also been injury laden as of late, is just I don't think that's something Goody's gonna do, but I could be wrong.
Keep, restructure, and cut is the new F Mary Kill game, right? Is
Sure,
that
we can
is
do
that the
that.
NFL nerds game?
Oh God,
Sorry. I'm with you. I do think Devondre Campbell is staying. I think for me, we can kind of litigate just what the value is of having a linebacker that is clearly getting older, injuries have piled up, mobility, speed, all that stuff is not there. The two things that I keep coming back to is the cap hit that you recoup for cutting him is not, it's not even close to what it would be for Bakhtiari. So financially, it's not really there for the Packers to do that. And second of all, you're changing your system. You need linebackers like desperately. I don't, I could see this being like a trial run, and maybe we, a year from now when we're doing this kind of segment again, and we're like, well, we recap Devondre Campbell's 2024 NFL season, and be like, yeah, they hung on to him 1 year too late, and it happens. But like, I think there is a positional need there, and financially, there's not really that like, if you really want to wipe the slate clean, then go do it by me. You know, I wouldn't. I would be nervous, but I wouldn't have a problem with it because I do think there is some merit with where Devondre Campbell's playing, you know, performance is heading or has been heading, but they're kind of in this limbo dance that they have to address in free agency in the draft that I frankly don't think they have enough means to do so when they have other big glaring needs to address as well.
Yeah, absolutely. For context, cutting David Bakhtiari before the league year starts on the 15th, um, they would have $20 million in cap savings, almost 21. If they cut Devondre Campbell um, pre next the 15th, they only get $2.6 million in cap savings. So it's not this huge number that they're looking that they could recoup if they end up cutting Devondre Campbell, who will be playing his age 31 season this year. And the numbers like don't get um, that much bigger like after next year too. Like they have a potential out after this year, um, at which point this cap savings cutting him pre June for next season is like 4.5, and then the year after that,
It's
his
not,
his final year is same thing or not same thing. I'm sorry, I apologize. 8.2 million in his final year,
yeah.
but yeah, it just to save $2 million, I don't think it's worth it given all the change that's happening this offseason with the coordinator, the need for linebackers, and the active need for linebackers on this team, and just getting bodies at that position. So especially as we've talked about before, with the loss of Kingsley Enagbare being unable to go with his ACL, um, torn in the San Francisco game, won't be able to go for most of the year, most likely.
And to be fair too, like if Brad Gutekunst, I believe, has been asked at the end of the season press conference and at the combine, it doesn't really sound like he wants to move on from Devondre Campbell as much as he would say that outright.
Right,
He wouldn't. But
right.
I don't think he really wants to do that.
No, I bet you it's probably hard for him, like I guess personally from a GM and person standpoint, that it's a guy he found, and then a guy that Russ Ball and the rest of that front office found, that was basically found money and his
Mm-hmm.
talent went before they signed him to his big deal. But then also, I think Goody understands that it's just been kind of tough sledding with Devondre personally, and like from a team aspect this last year, there was no shortage of Devondre Campbell drama this year, that's for certain. And so he probably has some sympathy for him. He probably wants to give him another chance to show that he can still play, and maybe this new look will be a good thing for Devondre Campbell. So, alrighty, on to anything else on Devondre Campbell.
No, I think that pretty much covers it.
On to Aaron Jones. Was reported last week. I forget by who in the Packers media
Tom
sphere. Thank you,
Silverstein.
Tom. That the Packers and Aaron Jones were working toward a new contract that would reduce his salary on his current deal. So basically, the exact same thing they did last year with Aaron Jones, seeing if he'll take a pay cut to stay with the team. Currently owed what looks like to be 11 million as a base salary, around 14 total, I think, signing bonuses and things like that. So, um, same thing with Devondre Campbell. If they were to cut him $5 million, they'd be saving before. June 1st, and so it's not that lot of money, and I think Aaron Jones holds a lot more value to this team than $5 million you'd recoup. So I don't think I think they either get something done or the Packers just understand that Aaron Jones has more value to this team than he does off this team, no matter his salary number.
Yep, right there with you. I don't think I think this is a minor stir and whatever cap machination or if they just stay put. Sorry, fighting back a sneeze. Um, I think that is more likely than him leaving because that would be not a good sign.
Yeah, I think Packers fans in general would be very upset if he did end up leaving or the Packers didn't figure something out um, to ensure that he stays. This is his final year of this deal. He has dead money, or I'm sorry, void years on coming to him in 25, 26, and 27. But this is his final year under contract with the Packers. So it honestly feels fitting, given he turns 30, I believe, the end of next year, or the end of this year, around ish time. He's 29 and 103 days old as of right now, if you're curious, everybody. Um, so he's going to be ending his 2024 season turning 30, which is about the age running backs usually start to falter off, unless you're like Frank Gore or any of the other running backs that have apparently just stood the test of time. But yeah, I just think it's not worth the cap savings and the morale tank and just the talent, honestly, to get rid of Aaron Jones at this juncture. So, anything else? Or should we move on to our actual free agents? Not our, but the Packers' actual free agents.
Yeah, let's move on. I mean, it'll be interesting. We'll see in the lead up to Monday for sure
Yep.
if there's any news on any front. I think Bakhtiari is very likely,
Yeah.
and if there's any whispers or stuff around Campbell or even more on Aaron Jones, we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah. I think in all likelihood, in the order in which we presented them, is the order in which I'd be the least surprised that it happens. Least surprised with Bakhtiari, middling surprised for or for Devontae Campbell, and very surprised at Aaron Jones. So
Hmm.
all that being said, let's get into the Packers free agent class for this year. 16 players, all varying levels of talent. Like, truthfully, I look at this list and there's nobody, there's like one or two players that I'm like hoping they bring back, but there's not a lot of which of like,
I
it,
see
I see three.
four starters.
Yeah. Three players I
I
want
guess
back. There's
five,
four starters there. Yeah.
five to be if I could be open.
Okay.
Um, I have I have five players that I said will be staying.
Interesting.
Five.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, I lied to you pre-pod. We are just gonna go in order of money made last year because it makes the most sense, uh, in
Okay.
general. Starting with Yash Nineman, if stays or goes.
Goes.
I think he goes. I think the Packers are in a place to draft an offensive lineman, specifically a tackle, at any point in this draft. And as the year went on, Yash just didn't look as good as he needed to stay on this roster. Between Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom, they have tackle locked up if they truly need to. Plus, with Luke Tenuta coming off of his injury last year, and just the other depth they have at defensive line, I think they don't need Yash Nyman anymore, and he didn't play that well.
Yeah, I it's yeah. Rasheed Walker asserted himself as the starter, and we are even asking questions about whether he'll be the starting left tackle come the start of this season,
Mm-hmm.
depending on who they draft.
Yep.
So yeah, I think they kind of covered their bases really well. Gave him a trial run, good rotational tackle. Think he has some value somewhere for a team. Maybe it's even a contending team, but I don't I think they kind of run up the string.
Yeah, I think he gets it.
Especially there's another tackle that we'll be getting to in this list.
Yes, there is. Um, yeah, I think he gets a contract somewhere. I just don't think the Packers bring him back. So, next up is everyone's favorite kick returner, Keyshawn Nixon. I think they bring him back.
I think they bring him back as well.
I don't know what the contract's gonna look like.
It would. I think we're not. I think.
So Spotrac
Okay.
has market value for certain players. Like basically, like
Did he apply for it?
he does.
Okay.
Um, the market value Spotrac like assesses to Keyshawn Nixon is $1.7 million.
Really?
Yeah, I think that's in part because they this is his like cornerback market value, and it puts him up against other cornerbacks. It doesn't take into
Yeah.
account his kick returning ability. So,
PFF has some projections on like the higher. Um.
mm,
Actually, pretty much all of them. Now that I look at them, but basically, the higher like ranking that you are in the free agents, their free agency list, you're gonna have a projection. PFF's projected contract is 2 years, $4.25 million average over year. So 2 years, 8.5 million total, 4.5 guaranteed.
I don't think that's too far off. He had a base salary of
It was
four
like a
million this
1 year,
year.
6 mil.
Yeah,
It's
this,
four. Oh,
according
I guess.
they without his base salary
Yeah.
was let me see if I can open up this quick and see if it tells me what it was. Um, yeah, total total was near six. He had one of base salary of four and then a $1.8 million signing bonus. Um, but yeah, honestly, like 2 years, 8 million, I would be very happy with for Keyshawn Nixon. Frankly, like his kick returning ability is worth that and then some for the Packers. And I don't think he was like the biggest liability as a defender. Like he had some times where you're wondering what he was kind of doing and kind of scratching your head at his play, but the Packers are going to invest in their secondary this offseason, whether it's through free agency or through the draft class. And I don't think Keyshawn Nixon's the worst backup to have on this team, frankly.
I don't disagree with that. I think this is really the first year where he was not just a special teamer. And you have a new defense coordinator, one that is very uniquely, his skill set is in the secondary.
Yep.
You know what I mean? That is the you're really banking on him fixing the back half of or back end of that unit on top of everything else.
Mm-hmm.
But from I agree with you. I think it wasn't a flashy year. I mean, obviously he had a pick in the Chiefs game. It was this is not a secondary that was forcing turnovers or anything like that. If anything, it was playing some of its parts are a lot better than what they were individually. But for a nickel corner who provides special teams value, if you're telling me that he signs for 2 years, $8 million and 4.5 of it's guaranteed, if I'm going off of PFS projections, I'd be fine with that.
Yep.
They need so many corners,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you're not going to get them all through the draft. You're certainly not going to get all of them through free agency.
No.
Just bite the bullet.
Yep. I should say for context, folks, we are not crunching numbers in this pod. Our
Oh, I
numbers,
am.
I
No.
um, when we say we're signing people, we're taking them individually as their number. That'll apply
Exactly.
to our free agent targets later. I have one that I take into account for money wise, just because I think it is a good idea. But we're not like, okay, we have $4 million gone for Keyshawn Nixon now. Now we have X amount left. We're just not doing that. We're just seeing if we like them or not. All that being said, next up, Darnell Savage. I
Gone.
I think he goes. I think if he's not gone within the first two like ish weeks of free agency, they might bring him back.
I disagree. I assume you saw the combine buzz that I forget which ESPN reporter um reported that Darnell Savage would be getting a fine deal, whatever that means.
No, I did not hear that.
That was yes, that was probably probably the biggest Packers news that came out of the combine, really. Um, which kind of shows you at the spot that they're in that they're very comfortable with where they are at.
Right.
Um, but yeah, that tells me he's got an offer out there,
Interesting.
and there was nothing related to saying Packers want to bring him back.
Hmm.
So I think
Interesting.
he's as good as gone.
I don't. I'm not like upset that if he's good as gone. I think that he looked better this year than he did last year.
Oh, 100%.
It's like
Yeah,
and so
for
like that.
sure.
That's why I'm like,
I think he's a good guy that could find value in a change of scenery. If
yeah,
we talk about Darnell Savage being a problem for another team and be like, oh, we had Darnell Savage and we didn't make good use of it. It's like, well, he played here 5 years. It was
yeah,
really up and down. And part of that was probably playing for defense coordinators that didn't utilize him well. But he also, it's, I don't know, like it's a very mixed bag that we had from him.
it
And
is.
I think further investment in that when you are starting a new identity defensively, I just think it kind of, you know, I don't see it.
No, I agree. I just think that I wouldn't be. I don't think it's out of the realm possibility to bring him back. But if there's rumors around there that he's got suitors, I wouldn't doubt that he's vying for a change of scenery as well. Considering the Packers didn't pick up his fifth year option, I'm sure that doesn't feel the greatest as a player.
You mean no, they did.
Oh, they did. I apologize. Yep, you're right.
Yeah.
I miss. They picked up his fifth
You
year. Didn't
you
really.
projecting for Eric Stokes.
Yeah. God. Um. Yeah. We'll see. I don't think it'll be. I'm curious to see what ends up happening with uh with Donald Savage. It'll be interesting for sure. I
He feels like what one last thought.
Nope, you're good.
He feels like if he went to like Baltimore, say Baltimore,
Yeah, I know exactly where you're going with this.
they have their safeties or at least sorry, Geno Stone is a free agent. And if say if he gets big money and Baltimore's like, yeah, we'll probably write out like a stopgap, sign Darnell Savage, and they make him like a you know all pro safety.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? That's fine by me because they know what they're doing defensively and
What
finding these guys.
what was the fella's name? Casey Hayward. It could be a very similar thing to Casey Hayward
Or Micah Hyde.
or Micah Hyde, where they just go off and have really great careers for other teams and in the AFC, frankly.
I think exactly. Bill Barnwell had a very in his free agency preview of like wide receivers in secondary. It was like
Yeah,
you can easily just talk yourself into like, well, he's a first round talent a couple
yeah,
years ago. There's something in there.
yeah.
It's just a matter of putting it all
Getting it
together.
out right.
Yeah.
Um, Thank you for vamping because I had to double check that this Jonathan Ford was the one and only Rudy Ford because Spotrac was trying to throw me for a loop. Rudy Ford's up next.
I will also go no.
I will say no. I think there's a decent shot he stays though. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he stays on a small deal. Same thing, one year kind of thing. Because again, they've got a lot of turnover in the secondary. You kind of just need holdovers. You can't have an entirely new secondary unless that's where they decide to spend in free agency, which that'd be a good thing if they did. But we'll see if that's what they want to do for spending. So I say yeah, probably gone. You say yeah, he's probably gone. I wouldn't be none the bit surprised if he ended up staying though. Um, the mayor of Door County, AJ Dillon. What say you?
Sorry, my internet just like wavered.
Okay,
Who did you say?
AJ Dillon.
Gone.
Yeah, I think he's gone. I touch on him later. In my when we do targets for free agency, but
Hmm.
yeah, I think that there's probably gonna be another team that throws a bag at him that the Packers won't want to match. Whether how good that team is, we'll see. But it's
Throws
gonna
a bag at him.
yeah. I think there's always room. I think there's always money for a north-south power running back like AJ Dillon. Like
True.
even if that's inconsistent, I think there is just room for it. Like I could see like the Panthers throwing something at him. I could see any sort of like just not good team. Like you know who could use a power running back is like the Cardinals. Like take the idea off of Kyler Murray running the ball all the time. Take the give go to New England and give a running back to their whoever the rookie QB is going to be or the next QB is going to be. Just a guy to eat up some yards and things like that. So that's just kind of my thought on it. So yeah, he's gone. Methinks it'll suck fan wise because he's a fan favorite clearly, but I mean we talked about it all year long. The ramp up to AJ Dillon being a positive player isn't good when you are a competitive team like the Packers are.
Yeah. Good guy.
Yep,
Sucks
great
that
guy.
his season ended basically before the Packers season did. And
Yeah,
that's not the way you want to write it.
no, unfortunately not. Eric Wilson, outside linebacker.
Yes,
I
I think
think
he
he's
stays.
I think he stays too. Same
Special
reason I
teams
had for
value.
Devondre, and the special teams
But
value.
he really is like outside of Keyshawn Nixon. Keyshawn Nixon is like the impact guy, but like Eric Wilson has been the best. Like he's just a heady vet. You
Yep,
know, just keep him around. They know what he's. You can rely on him to not make boneheaded mistakes. He's
yep.
actually going to recover fumbles if need be
Yes, he
at
will.
key moments.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I hope he stays. I think he's an asset for sure. Josiah DeGuara. Bye. See
And
you
as
later. See you later. Auf Wiedersehen. Adieu. Like, get off my football team. Appreciate it.
oh,
You think he goes? I didn't hear your answer.
I was, I think your answer applied to mine. I was thinking it
Perfect.
was gone.
Moving on. Tyler Davis. Auf Wiedersehen. See you later. Bye. Go ahead.
I agree with you.
I just don't think there's room for either one of them. Like, excuse
No.
me. Josiah DeGuara stinks. We don't need to talk about him. Tyler Davis, I believe, tore his ACL last year, right? That's why he didn't play
He
much. That's
tore
why
his
he
ACL before even the
didn't,
season started.
right. And
That's why
so,
they went after Ben Sims as
yeah,
a cut down guy.
right. And so my thing is that you have Ben Sims, Tucker Kraft, and Luke Musgrave, three tight ends, all capable of playing. If they want to run four, sure, you could bring Tyler Davis back before Josiah DeGuara because I think he has somewhat value, but I just don't know if he's worth the roster spot or worth signing a deal to, unless it's $1 million again, like it is. But I'd rather give that million to somebody else that is actually in an area of need. Like if they need another tight end, just draft one and one of their 11 picks.
Or
If you
just sign
or just sign a yeah, just sign a guy.
a cut down guy. Like
The
you
Falcons are
don't
gonna cut Kyle Pitts, so maybe they can pick him up. It's a joke. This is it's a joke.
the thing is that you don't need a starter. You don't need a number two tight end.
No,
You don't need a number three.
no,
It's a special teamers guy, if anything.
yeah, like he doesn't really have value on offense anymore, which was like kind of his allure
And even then
as a
he never
prospect.
really made good on those opportunities.
He didn't.
Opportunities.
Um, next up, Mr. Simone Biles, Jonathan Owens.
I said goes.
I said goes to. I again see a reality in which they bring him back on a small deal. I don't want him back because he made so many stupid mistakes. I think he was the worst part of the secondary, frankly. I'm not trying to be. Listen, remember we did grades last week, or however many weeks ago that was. And we talked about how there were so many players that had seemingly good grades, but the defensive secondary overall frickin' stunk. I think it frickin' stunk because of the play from Jonathan Owens. Like, I'm not trying to harp on the guy. I think he's a fine person. He had some issues we won't talk about. Shortly after, we won't talk about Jordan. I just don't think he can play. I just don't.
I would not be surprised if they had maybe think of him as a kind of depth filler.
Yeah,
But if
I'd rather
I'm
have Rudy for depth than Owens for depth.
they benched him.
I know, but I think that's a Joe Barry problem because I think he was fine. I know that might contradict what I talked about in grades, but I don't think he was worse than Owens. I don't think that.
I don't know.
I
Either
don't.
way, it's not a if he's
Also,
back and he
new regime. Like I'm putting a
yeah,
lot of weight into that. Is that this
it
is a new
was
regime?
it was the position that they least invested in, like financially, literally this last season, and that is not going to be the case this year. It's
No,
not going to be the case in as soon as 5 days. So
it's also like a NFL wide thing happening. Is that there's I forget where I saw it today, but somebody of importance tweeted out that the trend in the NFL is going towards treating safeties like running backs, just shorter deals, smaller money, and seeing what you can get guys for.
look how many safeties got
There's
cut this year.
so many, so many. The Bills' slaughter was insane, frankly. Like I know we
Yeah.
generally don't look at broad stroke NFL stuff. The Bills cut 12 players in one day.
Hmm.
I saw something. This is a bad taste, but it was very funny. That somehow, some way, Damar Hamlin survived that cut day. It's like that's the most surprising thing is that Damar Hamlin didn't get cut. Well,
Hmm. Moving on.
Zane Anderson.
I said yes. I said stays.
I didn't really know if that helps at all. I think I think maybe more of a special teamer than an actual safety. I guess maybe. I'd say
He had a really good
yes.
tackle in a playoff game.
Wonderful. I'd say yeah. They probably keep him
Yeah, we're there's a lot more special team guys that we're going to get into.
coming up on yeah.
Yeah,
Let's speed run
I
these guys. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
well, I was just gonna say I think you're gonna have to. There's gonna be some guys that they keep for those reasons.
Yeah. Robert Rochelle
Gone.
gone. Um, the most notably probably one that in a while to be Patriots probably since AJ Dillon, John Runyon Jr.
I said gone.
gone. It sucks. I think he really wants to stick around, but he was not good this year. I'll talk about that a little bit later, briefly. Caleb Jones. I think he stays.
I said he stays.
Yep.
You don't keep him on the roster for 2 years
Yep.
to not play him
Nope.
and have it sound like, well, we like him enough to not play him, but or to give him a contract, but we won't play him.
Yep.
They clearly like him.
Yep.
They clearly want to develop him into something,
Yep.
and perhaps we'll see actually see that this year.
Right. See what that is. Um. Yeah, I think that's a great point. Daniel Whalen. These are I don't know what the E and ERFA stands for, but these are restricted free agents. Caleb Jones and
Exclusive,
exclusive rights free agents, maybe, or
yeah,
exclusive restricted free agent, whatever it is. But yeah, Caleb Jones was the first one of those. Um, Daniel Whalen is up next. Like they'll keep him.
yeah, yeah. I say he's a stayer.
Yep. Patrick Taylor.
I said no.
I said no. I would not be surprised if he does stay. I think he
Yeah,
stays if Aaron Jones goes. I think he's
really.
gone. Yeah. I think they'll spend less
Do
money
you
on.
do you think there's actual value to having him as a running back?
No. No. I think his value is in a backup role and special teams stuff. But I mean, if they're gonna cut or not cut, if they're gonna let AJ Dillon walk and if they don't come to a deal with Aaron Jones, they're left with Emmanuel Wilson at running back right now, which I'm good for. I'm good for. There was a tweet out this week that the Packers really like Emmanuel Wilson, which is has me swooning, getting the vapors. But you still need more running backs on the roster and more running backs of experience. Like, and sure, they could go out and bring in a guy. Depends on where you want to spend your money. Like, are you going to go spend on Saquon Barkley? Are you going to go spend on Derrick Henry? Are you going to go spend on Josh Jacobs, Alson Eckler? Zeke's a free agent. Like, there's a lot of running backs out there with experience that you could go give millions of dollars to. Or do you just ride Patrick Taylor as a special teams guy and a lackluster backup and see if you can find a gem in the draft? I don't think it's the right thing to do, but I wouldn't be surprised if he got a contract. If everything goes south, this is like a 1% chance outcome kind of ordeal.
Your answer is very interesting to me that you would keep him around if Aaron Jones, by some devilish way, would leave.
Well, him and AJ Dillon is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
If both go, they just need another body there, and I don't think you can go in with what is essentially 3 4
Manuel Wilson.
rookies. Like if they don't want to
It's
spend
fair.
like when's the last time the Packers spent on a running back, Jordan? That wasn't one of their own. Almost never. I couldn't
Have
tell
to
you the
go
last.
way.
You
We
have to go
have to go
way
way
back.
back.
And it's not
I'm on green.
it's just not something the Packers do. They just
Yeah,
don't sign outside running backs. And sure, you can argue that it's different eras, different GMs, and different ideologies, but I don't know. Like I can't remember the last time they brought in a running back of noteworthiness that had an impact. And so if like I said, if the worst case scenario comes to be that they lose Aaron Jones and lose AJ Dillon, which again, this all just might be for nothing. This conversation might be, but if they lose both of those starters, then you have to have another player on the roster with some type of veteran experience. It's not a lot with Patrick Taylor, but he's a good run blocker and he can teach other guys how to do it. Like AJ Dillon's not the best run blocker, but Aaron Jones is. He can teach guys how to do it. Patrick Taylor can do the same thing as well. Not that it's just their responsibility; it's the coach's responsibility. But I just think they probably need more than one guy in the running back room going into the draft. Because if they
fair.
don't, then Blake Corum's their second round pick.
Yeah, yeah, that's fair.
Could be their first round pick if they think it's that necessary, which it probably is. So that was a way longer discussion about Patrick Taylor than it needed to be.
That's how it always is.
Yeah. Um, the last player on this roster is a player I have not heard of, Jordan. So you can do.
I had the same reaction.
Yeah, there's a player on the Packers roster. His name is Christian Uphoff, and he's a free agent who made no money last year, according to Spotrac. And I just don't never heard of him. Never heard of him. So with all that being said, I think he goes.
He is currently a free agent.
Yeah,
What?
I don't know.
He signed with the Packers as an undrafted free agent at the conclusion of the 2021 NFL Draft. On August 31st, 2021, the Packers released him as part of their final roster cuts. He played with the British Columbia Lions
Oh,
in the Canadian Football
you,
League. So maybe that's a bug.
he it might be a bug. He might
Or
his salary just might be coming off the book. That's probably what it is.
oh,
Because he signed an entry level, a 3 year entry level deal that ended in 23. But yeah, but he was waived
gotcha.
in August 21. So yeah,
Well, I think Christian is up off this roster.
Jeez Louise. All right, let's move on to our targets for for the Packers in the free agent class. Jordan and I each have 5 targets, along with some other guys that we think would be other options for those positions should they Packers need to sign someone there because they do. So we each have 5 guys. I think I have 11 total names that I was just kind of looking at. I think Jordan said he has 9.
I have
So
9.
Jordan, I will let you start, and then if we have a similar name, I will tell you. Like
Same.
if you say something that I also have, say a player I also have, we'll just talk about him together.
Well, let's go. We're doing the big one. Big Kahuna first.
I'm hoping your Big Kahuna is the same as my Big Kahuna.
It has to be, I guarantee you. And I will be saying the name of the big kahuna in three,
Oh God,
two. Safety Xavier McKinney for the
it
New
is.
York
It is
Giants.
my Big Kahuna.
I have been reading a lot of PFF this week. I don't think he's their number one safety target by free agent rankings, but he was their fourth ranked safety this year. Uh, I frankly don't know what the Giants are doing. I love to ask that question every year because they gave Daniel Jones $40 million last year.
That's
um,
honestly probably why they can't give him a contract,
yeah, it
which
is.
which is a
It's also why Saquon Barkley is leaving.
yeah.
No
It's
strings attached.
yeah. It's not great.
They screwed up.
Yeah. Xavier McKinney had an amazing year this year. Um, like Jordan said, they're fourth ranked safety this year. An amazing coverage grade from PFF. Had 3 interceptions and 3 PBUs. Um, 33 catches on 54 targets when thrown his way for a NFL pass rating of 52.1 when thrown at. That's pretty nuts. That's pretty nuts. I think what really not surprised me, but really intrigued me about the idea of getting Xavier McKinney on this team is that he can play all over. He can he had 464 snaps at free safety, 388 in the box, 167 in the slot, 82 on the line, which was like blitzing, and then 27 outside as a corner, a traditional corner. Like I just think he has all over the field capability, and the Packers both need safety and slot corner, and so and I'm not saying Xavier McKinney is the catch all like band aid to the entire defensive secondary. Golly, would he be a great start?
It is. I think going into this free agency, especially after last year, where we're like, well, you're kind of have to like penny pinch of like, you know, they're very they're going on to a separate track. You know what I mean? Now that you're kind of getting out of that, and you can kind of, oh, it's not that we have to dream bigger. We actually have like the means to do it. It seems wild to me that a player of his talent, he's only 24.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, this is the end of his rookie contract. He's very good, one of the best players at his position, can be used as a chess piece all over the field, which is kind of what you want from what you have with Jeff Halfley. Um, like if you had told me this like maybe a month ago, I'd be like, that seems very unrealistic. But considering how the Giants screwed up their team planning, team building, the as we mentioned, the de-emphasis on safeties and just kind of how the market has just been flooded with. Yeah, a lot of them are probably getting older. Some have maybe not even reached their potential. Xavier Kitty is in the midst of doing or is not old. He's not even reached the prime of his career yet,
Mm-hmm.
and is a very productive and one of the best players in his position. Like I felt like it was a pie in the sky kind of option, and now
Yeah.
that I'm getting closer to free agency, it doesn't seem that far fetched.
No, not at all. It's gonna be. I'm not. I will be. I think heartbroken if they don't get him. I think he is like an absolute difference maker. He had the lowest missed tackle percentage, um,
That was a big one.
amongst safeties, I believe, at 5.7%. You know me. I need my defensive players to tackle. He had the highest tackling grade of all safeties this year.
Darnell Savage definitely did not do that.
No, he did not. Um, I watched a couple like games of just of his film, like highlight reels and things like that. He is a good tackler. He pursues really well. I just think this is a if you want a guy, they don't have a guy behind their line that is like that guy that can
Yes.
really make impact plays. Jair is like the closest to being that, and he just hasn't gotten there yet, or hasn't been there in a while, I should say. But man, this guy would I think bring a huge tenacity to this team and would be a kickstart to the defense and hopefully rebuilding that defense into something that really isn't not to be proud of per se, but is fun to watch. Like
Yeah.
clearly investing in the defense in the first round hasn't worked out for the Packers in the last little while. Uh why not just go chase a guy in free agency that you know can compete?
Yep. PFF's projection for his contract, McKinney's contract, is 4 years, $54 million deal, I believe. 30 would be guaranteed.
I mean, I'm all for it. Like he's just he it's a long-term option for or a long-term solution to a position that the Packers haven't had a good player at since Micah Hyde.
Yeah.
Maybe we can go back to like haha
Nick
Clinton Dix.
Collins. No.
Well, no, I'm saying like we've been through this. Like no, I'm saying he was bad.
Yeah, I know.
Um, I don't want to go back as far as the Collins. I think Micah Hyde was pretty good.
They
Like,
just moved on from him too soon. That was
yep,
a
a
bet
blunder.
that they, yeah.
It was a blunder, but that happens.
No,
Plus
if
I
that
think he
is
got
the
it. That's the year he broke his neck, right? Did Micah Hyde
I,
have a neck injury when he was his
he
last
might have
year?
had an injury. I can't remember.
I'm gonna vamp.
But if that is the price, 4 years, $54 million, 30 million guaranteed. That's the price you get for a top five at the very minimum. Top five safety. Sign me up.
He did not. He played most of his games. He played 15 games in 2015, 16, 2016. But maybe I thought he had a pretty bad injury, but maybe I'm
Was that
misremembering.
Casey Hayward?
No, the other guy I liked was the guy that had the injury. 37, Sam Shields. He was the guy
Oh yeah,
that had the
actually, it might have been.
injuries.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So, but yeah, Xavier
Super Bowl
McKinney
champion.
all the way, man. All the way, man, for Xavier McKinney. It's just the best option.
Yeah,
Um, a couple other options I had for safety. Do you have any other safeties on the list?
I have two more.
Okay, then I'll
I
wait
looked
then.
at a lot of safeties.
Okay,
Trust me.
then I have like more to talk about because I have one for each position. Frankly, like I picked the five positions in need, and I picked one I wanted to do. I didn't go all the way in on safety or linebacker or things like that. So we'll talk about your guys as we hit them. Um, my next guy, I guess my guy, since you had to pick your first one, my he's not the first on my list like Xavier McKinney was, but I'm gonna switch it to go to offense just briefly.
Mm,
Is Connor Williams. He is the center in Miami.
mm,
Um, he's coming off of a torn ACL this year.
mm.
I think he played 9 games, but I think it was either the Spotrac
The Barker
like
Valley.
write up, no, like the write up or the PFF one. I forget which one it was, but they were saying that if Connor Williams didn't tear his ACL this year, he'd be in line for the biggest contract for a center like ever because he's darn good. He played left guard with the Cowboys for 3 years and then signed in Miami and became their center. Um, his the biggest thing for me about him is that he was in his last year in 2022, which is obviously pre-injury. He was the top. He was the third rated run blocker at the center position behind Creed Humphrey and Jason Kelsey. And for context, of the players who qualified for snaps this year, John Runyon and Josh Myers were tied for 110th.
Oh,
Yeah, just that's across all tackle centers and guards.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But still, like Connor Williams' run blocking grade in 2022 was 85 and a half. Um, I believe when I checked the number, Josh Myers and John Runyon Jr. were at like 65. So
That would check out.
yeah, it tracks right. Um, the like quote unquote issue is that Connor Williams isn't the best pass blocker. He has a score of like a grade on PFF for 2022 of 68.8, allowed 3 sacks last year. So that I'm not too upset with because you can double a guy with a guard, or you can make sure that there's a running back available to pass block in those necessary downs. But this I couldn't find any stats on it. I don't know why it's so hard for PFF um or next gen stats to give like team stats on this. But this is anecdotal. But running up the middle for the Packers seemed impossible for the last few years. Like it was all outside of Aaron Jones. There was nothing up the middle between the gaps, between the A gaps essentially. And I think if you're gonna, I think they do draft a new AJ Dillon. They're going to draft a power back at some point. You just need to be able to run up the middle, whether that's making it easier to get third and shorts or making it easier to do QB sneaks and push tushes and things like that, which is unique to the Eagles because not every quarterback benches 600 pounds. I'm sorry, squats 600 pounds. Like it's just you just need a surefire guy in the middle, and the idea is if they say they swing and miss on Zacchaeus McKinney, say they swing and miss on a couple other the safety guys you're going to talk about soon. Why not go get a that last piece on your line that is going to take up cap space on your line between Elton Jenkins and now Connor Williams if they sign him. But then they still have Rasheed Walker and Zach Tom on cheap deals. Like before they get expensive, you can have a absolutely solid piece in the middle with Connor Williams. And then
Mhm.
and say they don't want to move on for Josh Myers. You could throw him at left or right guard if you wanted to as well. I am of the opinion that they should move on from Josh Myers, even though he's still obviously on the team this year, but unless we see some significant improvement, I would like them to move on from Josh Myers in place of a guy like Connor Williams.
I can't interior offensive line. Like I know we were talking about the tackle problem, if there is a problem. But to me, like now that we're getting closer to free agency and draft, it's just way more glaring. Like you could easily be losing one of your starters in a couple days. Josh Myers is inconsistent. He's up for free agency next year. Alan Jenkins is your lock in that way. Pretty much, I would say the entire line in that way.
Yep.
It is a more it's becoming more glaring that you need to really take notice of that. Maybe that's a first or second round pick. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's not the sexy option, but it's structurally it's probably
Right.
the most dependable way to do it. And you have a track record of developing really good offensive linemen.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like I guess this the idea from Connor Williams comes from if you want to draft a tackle and either replace Rasheed Walker or Zach Tom, if you draft a tackle that plays right tackle, move Tom inside to right guard, sign Connor Williams, then you have across the way Rasheed Walker, Elton Jenkins, Connor Williams, Zach Tom, and a first round right tackle.
And Goody has also had history of paying for offensive lineman in free agency. Billy Turner, probably the
Yep.
biggest example.
Yep. Yeah, I just think I'd be very happy because the dude is seems like a stud, and if
Yeah.
he's as good of a run blocker as he can as he's graded out to be, that would be that'd be pretty good. For context, excuse me, in 9 games played in 2022, he allowed 1 sack. So
There you
not
go.
too bad if you. That's kind of on track with his 2022 numbers. I'm sorry, 1 sack allowed this year, 3 sacks allowed last year. Um, kind of like on the same pace, um, essentially. But the idea being for me, you're getting rid of Bakhtiari's money, replace it with Connor Williams. Doesn't got to be the whole 20 million a year. I don't think he gets that.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the right idea either, but um, I just think it would be a good thing. Market value according to Spotrac is 13.5 million. 5 years, 68
Wow.
would make him the second most.
Highest paid.
Yeah, second most behind. I can't. Doesn't want to show me. I don't know who the other one would be, but he's good. I think you. I think you definitely pay for it, but that's just me. Who's your next guy, Jordan?
I'm gonna keep going down the safety route
That's fine.
because it is a very important position need. Um, Say if you don't strike it out with Xavier McKinney, Cameron Curl.
He's on
I
my list
have
of
him
two.
under. I have him under buy low alternative. I don't think that is the case. I think maybe with the again the flex of safeties that are now out there. I don't know. I maybe there's a lot of things I could see happening with that particular part of the free agent market, but
Mm-hmm.
was a seventh round pick a couple years ago. Played with Washington and it won the starting job pretty quickly. And last year was a down year in terms of grading. He ranked 50th out of 95 safeties last year, but the year before was like here. Let me bring it up on PFF. Year before he ranked second out of 88. Um, just a very sound player. A lot of comps to Adrian Amos
Yep.
um, in that sense of going from a bad team like the Bears to to a team like the Packers. I think kind of speaks for itself.
Yeah.
If you're asking for a consistent guy to play at the back end and he plays center field, kind of just covers a lot of ground. I think Curl's kind of the he's been a guy that I've seen a lot of like Andy Herman's sung his praises for a very long time, and I think I wouldn't be disappointed if he was the Packer safety of the future as well.
Right. Um, Not a ball hawk. Um, by nature, he only has 3 career interceptions over 4 years. It was
wasn't
all his, it
all
was
that
all his rookie
in
year.
rookie? Yeah.
Yep. This is his entire all of his rookie year. Um, Only 3 PBUs his sophomore season and 4 last year. I agree with you. I think he could be a good player. What intrigues me more is I think that I'd rather Curl and McKinney be paired together. I don't like Curl as just the safety target, the safety guy
One.
that you go after. Yep. I think you
Yep.
need a stud like McKinney to put next to Curl. Otherwise, I think he might get a little lost back there with the lack of talent in the secondary in the first place. So I like Cameron Curl as an option. I just would hope that they also either draft one high, like a either Tyler Nubin out of Minnesota, or sign another good safety. Jordan Poyer, I think he's a quarterback, though not a safety. Um, I think they just need to put someone next to Cameron Curl. I don't think he can be that guy for the Packers.
I got the perfect analogy for you.
Okay,
You want a Christian Yelich to go with his Lorenzo Kane.
that's exactly what I want. Yep, that's it. That's
Cross sports.
yep.
Listen to Cruising for a Bruising. 2 episodes a week. Or one. I don't know.
Well, in season it's definitely two.
In season two.
Um, if we're gonna keep going safeties, Kevin, is it Bard?
Yarn! That's what
Yeah,
Howard Dean said, right?
yep, that's right. The former safety coming out of Philly. He is a little bit older, but would be a veteran. He's up there with Xavier McKinney as one of the best tackling free safeties in the NFL. Um, I would like if they go with Biard. I'm sure I'm butchering his name. Um, I wouldn't even hate if they then if they then drafted a safety to then like take that safety under his wing kind of thing. Like just like if it's Kevin Bird, Bird would take in the safety under his wing, which I think would be would be a good thing. The difference between are you looking it up because it's gonna bother me so long as I keep saying it.
Fired.
Byard. So if they sign Byard or McKinney, both of those
Yard.
players,
It's Yard, sorry.
God, if they sign Byard and or McKinney, both of those guys played all over the field. They played free safety, box, and slot corner. That is good. Cameron Curl only really played safety, which is fine. That's like if that's what he's good. That's what he's good at. But I love the utility of a guy. If we're making a callback again, like
Yep.
Micah Hyde. Micah Hyde played all over for them, or for the Packers when he was here. And I think you could really get creative with how you're utilizing those secondary players in your nickel and dime packages if you sign McKinney and Biard. I don't think they have the money for it, but maybe they do if there's some if there's some truth to the NFL franchises dwindling the market value for safeties.
And that's the thing. I mean, I feel like I had another safety. It was Julian Blackman, but like Quandre Diggs just got cut. Justin Simmons got cut.
There's
Let me
so
just go
many.
through. Let me
There's
go through
so
the
many.
list. It's preposterous. CJ
Yeah,
Gardner Johnson is another free agent. Geno Stone, as I mentioned before, Jordan Fuller, Jordan Whitehead, Deshaun Elliott, Sean Gibson Sr., Alohi Gilman, Mike Edwards, Jeremy Chin, Micah Hyde, Jaron Curse, Tyler Rapp. Actually, he just extended with the Bills. Um, Again, there's probably some other names that just
it's a
recently
lot of
got cut
dudes.
that don't apply to this, but that's where it is. Like it, I think it's almost so saturated that a lot of these guys are either some of the more well known and consistent guys are going to get long term money, and maybe someone that thinks that he can get a payday next year will take a 1 year prove it deal, and then hopefully health is there and performance is there that he makes long term money. Otherwise, I have no idea
Yeah,
how this is going to play out.
no,
That's where like if where the Packers are at, this might be playing that into their hands. Of yeah, we can get a long term starter, and maybe we get a 1 year prove it guy
while we
to.
draft the other guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, I like that idea. I had Darnell Savage on my list as like a small deal too. Like again, if it shakes out that way, I wouldn't hate bringing it back.
Yeah,
But regardless, any other safeties for you? Or are we good to move on?
we are finally good to move on from
Okay,
safety. Even I
nope.
think we mentioned like 20.
Yeah, that is true. My next guy, I'm gonna go with
What position?
linebacker.
I have linebacker as well.
So this is the one I mentioned earlier to you, Jordan. I forget if we were on pod when we might have said this, but this is my guy that I took into for price versus like total ability.
Mm,
This is like my bargain bin guy that I think would be not a bad option for the Packers if they want to go spend on Xavier
I
McKinney.
feel like I know who this is.
Take a guess.
Uh, is he? Did he get recently cut?
No, I don't think so.
No, maybe not. Continue.
But the guy you think about is on this list too. Um, Willie Gay, the linebacker for
Mm,
for the Kansas City Chiefs. Um, the allure for me is what his price would be versus his ability. He's not like the most highly rated guy um, for like run defending. He was the 45th ranked run defender at linebacker this year. His grade overall isn't fantastic. It's 55. He's not like doesn't do anything exceptionally well. But what he does do is bring like a championship caliber mindset and experience to the team. I think that is definitely worth something in today's day and age. He's still young. He's a 2020 draft pick, former second round pick. Had some good games this year. Um, he has 6 career total sacks, including 4 last year. Um, and again, like he's just a guy that has won back to back titles. He's played in 3 Super Bowls. Willie Gay is a guy that knows what it means to win and be around a championship organization. That isn't anything that this defense has seen. Like this defense hasn't really seen success. They've made it to NFC championship games, but that was 4 years ago and a lot of morale ago. And so my idea in bringing in Willie Gay is that he helps fill out the linebacking room. Like the linebacker room is talented, and at worst, he just brings an energy and an attitude to the team that I think, excuse me, that I think is necessary as it continues to grow with these young guys. Like he's obviously not on offense, so it's not like he can lead that group, but I think he could be a very strong voice in the locker room to set the tone for what it means for this team to actually compete going forward. Jordan's clapping for everybody because this mic's not picking it up. It's not gonna pick it up. It's too hot. It's
Okay. Too hot, too hot. No, that was very impassioned, and I like that. He was a guy that intrigued me. I think there's very interesting traits and skills that he brings to the table that I am intrigued by, but he was not on my list.
I think I know
My
who your guy was.
so I also have. I'm not gonna say him right away, but the guy that stood out to me as a similar kind of bargain bin kind of shopping kind of guy, Tyrell Dotson of the Buffalo Bills. Can you name who ranked first out of 82 linebackers on PFF's grading?
Context clues would lead me to believe it's Tyrell Dotson.
Well, you pick up on context clues very quick. It
Oh
is him.
no!
He replaced Matt Milano after he got hurt, and the Bills defense looked better.
Can I interrupt you?
Yes.
When people talk about Matt Milano, I always like have to like double take because I think they're talking about Matt Millen, the old
Oh, it's
Lions
very,
GM.
yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you mean he replaced him? He's like 55. Okay,
He's a lot older
that
now.
happens to me often. Sorry, go on.
Um, but Bill's defense basically took off since or when Dotson took over from Milano. Played the most snaps this year out of any other year that he's played. He's a 5 year pro. Um, he ranked third in coverage grade for among linebackers, 11th best run defense grade. Uh, I looked at it from a very strict. Okay, if you really want to unleash Quay Walker as a kind of havoc maker, breaker, whatever you want to call him, um, depending on what happens to Devondre Campbell, that is kind of the key. But then if you want to have like a coverage guy, the problem with Dodson is that he's very undersized. I, from what I'm reading and what I'm seeing, he more than makes up for it with just how well he's able to cover.
Okay.
And that to me makes a lot of sense for what I think they want out of their linebackers going forward. Just if you're a forward down lineman, you're focused on those guys are going to create the pressure. Second level, it's about covering sideline to sideline. Get a guy that, yeah, thrust into emergency starting role. He, it's not like for from that standpoint with some of the other linebackers that are going to be available. The it's very different than like what Dodson did over the course of 8, 9, I guess 10 games. Sorry, plus a playoff game or two versus what just taking a name, Levante David, who's ageless.
Yep.
But I think if we're kind of in that, hey, we really you know more snaps under his belt, looked even better playing you know in a big role for a team that was contending. I don't know. I'm very intrigued. And obviously, the other thing that I factor in too is that, as we saw bore out this week, Buffalo is in a bad shape with cap stuff.
Yeah.
So, are they going to be able to bring him back? I don't think so.
I'm surprised that they didn't cut Diggs or trade him or do something with his contract as of yet. But I don't know.
There's a lot of stuff going on.
A lot of stuff going on. Um, Keeping with linebacker, you did sell me on him. Um, but keeping with linebacker, I know we both had Devin White as a possibility for the Packers.
I did not have him as one
Did you not?
actually.
So
I was kind. I
he
got
was one of
scared
my
off.
buy low candidates. Yeah, there's a lot of like reporting out there is like he might just not have the drive or the skill to be a good NFL player anymore.
There was a lot of
Anymore is crazy because he's
freelance.
like 26.
I know, and it's like I know. Again, to your point, that championship game was almost it was over 3 years ago. But to me, like he was the biggest reason why the Packers
Yeah.
lost that game.
Yep.
And
100%.
so I'm always will have that memory of him and just like hold it up like, it's March Madness, like a player getting hot and be like, what the hell is going
Yeah.
on right now?
Right.
Um, but Yeah, I got scared off by a lot of the freelancing stuff and just kind of not being as sound and a freak athlete, but just doesn't hasn't really put it
Yeah.
all together in a more real way.
Yeah, I think from from some of the things I was reading alluded to, he had a change in his role, and that's when he started to decline. Maybe a change of scenery does him really well. And like he's one of my buy low options if they want to give him a small deal and just say,
Hmm.
hey, come figure it out here. I wouldn't be opposed to that.
Yeah.
Freak athlete who uses his athleticism to make a lot of tackles, but is very bad against the run in recent years. I just we'll see. I'm not like yearning for Devin White, but I think it could be an option. My other buy low option for linebacker was a reunion with Oren Burks. He's been really
Interesting.
good for San Francisco. Um,
Yeah.
very good tackler, would be cheap. Still doesn't cover well though, which is an issue. So I don't think you can have Oren Burks and Devondre Campbell on the same team coverage wise, but I think it would be. I wouldn't be opposed to it, frankly. Like I said, he's a good tackler, and that's all that really matters to me at some point when it comes to watching guys miss tackles over and over and over again.
Another buy low guy that I had, Jerome Baker, a recent cap casualty of the Miami Dolphins.
Yep.
Key point, I believe I saw Paul Bradle point this out too. Given that the linebackers coach from Miami moved to Green Bay this year, I believe, I forget his name, Anthony.
Yep. I can't think of his name either.
Yes, it's escaping me. Apologies. That is a connection that you can kind of make. I know there was some reporting of like, well, they're cutting Baker, but there's interest in getting a new deal done and all that
Anthony
stuff. But
Campanelle.
he's a free agent, Anthony Campanella. Um, but Baker's free agent, and once you hit that open market, you know, anything can kind of happen. Just a very good statistical profile on PFF, ranked 74th in their total linebacker ranking. So not like what Tyrell Dotson was. I don't know why they didn't apply him to the, you know, among linebackers and stuff like that. But I was very kind of impressed by disruptive pass rusher. He had a 74.4 coverage grade last year. Um, season ended prematurely last year, and that was another reason why the Dolphins just kind of another. Speaking of another team that I am all the way down on going into next year,
Yeah, who's that?
Miami.
Ah, gotcha. I missed the context clue.
Um, sorry, but yeah, I just think he's it's very it's another key starter that has played a couple 6 years and been pretty consistent all throughout. And if you want a proven veteran in your linebacking core, make a run for him, I guess. But yeah, Jerome Baker.
All right. My next guy is Darius Williams, the cornerback
I
out
have him
of
too.
Jacksonville. Um, cap casualty out of Jacksonville. 30 years old. I think it was his birthday today. Happy birthday, according to Spellcheck at least. 30 years and 0 days. Um, but I think he's played very well for Jacksonville. His market value would be 2 years, 25 million. So I think honestly the best thing would just be to put him alongside Jair Alexander and let Carrington Valentine like develop for 2 years or a year and just see where it takes you, kind of thing. Because I liked Carrington Valentine this past year. I don't know the viability of giving teams a full off season of tape to go after a seventh round sophomore. Like I just don't think it's the best idea, which is why I want some sort of investment into cornerback in the free agent market, whether that's Darius Williams or whomever, but or a high pick for a cornerback at 25. Whether that's Khalid McKinstry or Terry and Arnold, the fellas out of Alabama. Like I just think they need to invest in cornerback either heavily in the free agent market or in the draft to make sure that Carrington Valentine isn't the second starter, which that's not a knock on Carrington Valentine. Like he was good last year. I just the the what's the word? Oh, it's gonna bother me. The statistics word. I can't think of it. Basically, the chance that he's really good versus the chance that he's kind of bad.
Probability.
Thank you. It's yeah. The probability is not the word I was thinking of, but it's the right phrase. That's the right phrase. The probability of him being very good or pretty bad, I think, is about equal.
I will repeat what Brian
Standard
Gutekunst has
deviation.
said.
Holy moly, standard deviation. That's what I was trying to say.
Standard deviation.
Yeah,
Um, I will repeat what Brian Gutekunst has said is that they want competition in every room,
yeah,
and the cornerback room is very bare.
it is.
Darius Williams he stood out to me in a lot of ways. Yeah, he's 30 or 31. Sorry. Um, did you say he's 31
No, he's
today?
no, he. According to Spotrac, his age is 30 and 0 days.
So he just turned 30.
Today, I'm pretty sure. I'll check his
Okay.
Pro Football Reference though.
Um, eighth ranked cornerback in overall defensive grade per PFF. Ranked second in pass breakups last year. Had 4 picks, including a pick six. Opposing quarterbacks had a 63.9 passer rating and a 55 completion percentage in the 100 targets thrown his way. I feel like Numac got an answer that is not satisfactory.
No, I don't know if Spotrac screwed up or what it is. His birthday is literally the league year beginning, and so I think that's why it says
Oh,
he's 30. He
yeah.
he turns. I'm sorry. He's turning 31 on the
Yes.
on Monday. So there we go. He's turning 31, not 30. Grumble.
Darius Williams.
Yep. Um. Yeah. I'm. That's my target. Not target, but
Do you
one
have
of them.
a buy low or a bargain bin to pair with him?
Nope. I
'Cause I
think.
do.
Go for it.
Akello Witherspoon of
Tell
the
me.
Los
Tell me about Reese's distant cousin.
Angeles Rams. Um, most snaps with any team, or most snaps of any season that he's had. He's the 7 year pro. Played with the Rams this year, as I said. 3 interceptions, 14 pass breakups this year, 2 fumble recoveries. Opposing quarterbacks had a 75.7 passer rating and a 48.1 completion percentage on 106 targets this season. He also allowed 5 touchdowns. Um, very PFF. Here's the PFF projection: 1 year, $3 million deal, 1.75 million guaranteed.
Wouldn't hate that.
Kind of like a stopgap kind of guy. If you're kind of wanting I don't want to just compare him to Rasul Douglas because that's who previously played as the number two to Jair's number one.
Yep.
But if you kind of want that as you bring in a new rookie, or they're surely going to draft another cornerback and figure out the secondary or slash cornerback room. Coming off a career like year like that, I think that is very helpful towards that.
Yeah. I don't hate it. I don't hate it at all. How many guys do you have left? Any?
I have one more, and it's a weird one,
I have one
but
more, and it's a running back. Do you want to go mine or yours?
mine is on defense. So let's go to running back just to switch it up.
Josh Jacobs. Yep. I have a soft spot in my heart for Josh Jacobs for fantasy reasons, but
Uh,
I'm he didn't have a good year last year. The the believers would tell you it's because the Raiders line sucked, which I would probably be inclined to agree with. But had the most yards from scrimmage for running backs 2 years ago, and is a capable running back. I think again this is in the scenario of which Aaron Jones and AJ Dillon both leave because Josh Jacobs isn't the best back out of the backfield. Like he's not a good pass catching back. I don't think he has a career pass catching touchdown, at least according to PFF when I was going through it the other night. Um, but he can sure is. sure as hell run the ball. And depending on I wouldn't spend a whole lot of money on him. Like I would give him a respectful contract, but I wouldn't like throw a bag at him or anything. Running back should be paid. Is my stance here. And yeah, I just think it would probably be best if they need a running back of the ones available. Saquon gives me injury scares. Derrick Henry's old. Josh Jacobs is like not. I think this would be like his like last long term contract if they gave him a long term contract.
Probably.
But I think he'd be like the best option. I'm not really huge into Austin Eckler and some of the other guys that are out there.
He's trending downward too.
Yep. So like I think Josh Jacobs would be like the guy for me.
Interesting.
Yep. All right.
Very interesting.
Who's your last guy?
I'm in a similar way of he's a name. You're probably gonna be like, why? I'm also addressing the listener in this, but I have my reasons. Calais Campbell,
Really?
hear me out.
I'm hearing.
One, he's 37.
Yep.
He's still pretty good.
Yep.
Had 6.5 sacks with the Falcons last year. Played 712 snaps, I think it was. Should probably just look at my freaking screen.
Notes.
It's with the notes. Um, I am looking at this from this perspective. They're going to have to get an edge rusher. You're banking on Lucas Van Ness being more productive or at least getting more snaps.
Taking another step.
Yeah, your top two are covered. Calais Campbell at this point, if he does play, which is that is the question, he could easily retire. He's kind of like a mercenary. You just you're going to if he plays another season, I don't is he's going to go to a team that he thinks is going to win a Super Bowl or go to a Super Bowl. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
And there's actual use of him coming and actually performing
He
and
he,
playing well.
he turns 38 September 1st.
There's nothing wrong with that. We're not ageist here.
We are kind of ageist.
No, I don't think we are. I
Also, you called him a mercenary. He's only played for 4 teams.
I know, but he's kind of like it was just weird that he went to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Um, he ranked 23rd out of 112 edge defenders for PFF last year.
Yeah.
Would I like to see free agency money or spending on more premium positions, not a guy that's going to project to be a third rotational edge rusher? Yeah, but I'm saying if you're telling me that Calais Campbell wants to come to Green Bay and play, and to get another big body up front that could is still very productive, can ease the snaps on Rashawn Gary, keep everybody fresh. Because I just think it's better spent doing that with an edge rusher through free agency rather than the draft.
I don't disagree. But I think edge rusher is a room that could either pop this year or be lackluster, is my issue. Between
Do you
Rashawn
think
Gary
individually
press
or collectively?
collectively.
I think individually that can happen. Collectively might be a tougher one.
I think honestly both. Like Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith will try to get theirs. We had this discussion
Yeah.
last week about like what is expected of Rashawn Gary to do this year. If Lucas Van Ness takes another step, that's good. But this is gonna sound very stupid. But like they have Brenton Cox Jr. developing. Like they're working with him. I think he has potential to be one of like a big difference maker this year from a backup role. I don't know. It's just hard because like you really need Rashawn Gary to have a career year this year, like and start playing at that level. And
To be clear, it is also not a goody move.
yes, no, it's not at all. I don't think it's a
So
bad idea. I just think it could be like who is the bad receiver? Sammy Watkins. It could look a lot like Sammy Watkins, where they need a veteran to come into the group because they have a bunch of young guys in there. Not that the edge rushing group is young, but they need uh what's the word, reinforcements in the edge in the from the edge rushers. Bring in a veteran who could make a difference. Maybe has one good game and then doesn't play the rest of the year or is cut. That's my worry with it. Not that
it's
it's a low risk, high reward payoff, maybe, but
exactly,
yeah,
and
I
it's
see your
fair.
point. I
And
see
it's
your
fair.
point. I don't think it's a bad
It's
idea. I just think it's a troubling idea to assess your edge rushers.
I agree, but if he's there, and you're telling me it's a 1 year like 4 million,
Yeah, I
I wouldn't
listen.
hate it.
I wouldn't hate it. We got to remember that Calais Campbell was on those Cardinals teams when they beat the Packers in the playoffs. So, do we really want him on the team?
If he's still good, yeah. I watched the Packers with Martellus Bennett on there. We know how that
that
went out.
was that is something.
That
Anything
was an
else,
era.
Jordan?
No, I'm very excited for free agency, which
Yeah,
only means that it will disappoint.
just like the draft. Short term draft, I should say.
Yeah,
The short term returns on the draft are always disappointing because I don't remember the last time they picked a guy that we wanted them to pick. But regardless,
I
that
remember one guy. It's number 10, starting quarterback.
no, it isn't. You cannot tell me with a straight face that in 2020 you wanted the Packers to draft Jordan Love. Do you want to fight? We are an hour 27 in, and I will fight you on this.
You're so mad when I said that. You're like, no, stop.
God.
All
Anything
I
else,
know is he
Jordan?
doesn't go on podcasts and talk about conspiracy theories.
Not yet. That does
That's
it for
true.
us, folks. Thank you for listening to Talking the Tundra. Check out gspn.info for all things Eurostep Podcast Network. As always, check out the Eurostep with Ty and Rohan and Win and Six with Adam and Jordan as the Bucks are on in the midst of their West Coast road trip. After losing to the Warriors last night, they play the Lakers tonight. If you're listening to this on Friday, I'm sure the Eurostep boys or Adam and Jordan. I think you just got finished recording, right,
We
Jordan?
did. We did.
So go check out that brand new episode in the Bucks feed. Check out Adam and Andrew on Cruising for a Bruising, as we mentioned earlier, as opening day is 3 weeks away from as today as we're recording this. Um, they had Adam and Andrew just released a podcast today, talking about their early returns on spring training, um, as they begin their mini cut downs, and send guys back to the minor leagues and things like that. And then Adam and Andrew also just released an episode on Make Time for This today, previewing the Oscars, um, which are happening on Sunday. So
Yes.
be sure to listen to that Oscars primer before sitting down and watching the biggest event of the weekend. Sure. That does it for us, folks. Thank you again for listening. We'll be back next week, um, with our free agency, I guess, news. Free agency,
Special.
yeah, tampering begins on Monday, as Jordan said. Uh, Signings happen on Wednesday. I think. Yeah, I think.
Mhm.
Yeah, Wednesday. And depending on any big news that comes out of Packers realm, you might hear from us earlier. If nothing happens, you'll probably hear from us on Thursday. But knock on some wood that the newest Packer come, um, the strike of the hour on whatever hour it is on Monday, is that Xavier McKinney is the newest Packer. So
Xavier McKinney, you are a Green Bay
he
Packer.
did talk with Katie Nolan about how cool it'd be to play with the
Kay
Packers.
Adams.
Kay Adams. I thought it was Katie Nolan. My apologies. To Kay and her podcast. But it'd be pretty cool. I'm just saying.
Is there a show called Okay?
And with that, folks, that is it from us. Thank you so much for listening, and Jordan, thank you for you and all of your lovely, terrible jokes.
Thank you. You're welcome.